Hello.
Hi Amir, how are
Oh,
you?
good. How's your updating coming along? Did your tenants move in or
My
how's that?
tenants move in, so now we should do our house that we have neglected.
But that's easy, right? I mean, it's you, right? You
It's
can
yeah,
work
correct.
on
That's
things a
why
little
we
bit.
didn't work on it.
It's the tenant thing, right? So they want everything perfect to begin with, and plus, you
Correct,
know, the idea is that when they move in, it should be what they call move-in ready, right?
correct,
So the problem is their perception of move-in ready might be very different than well yours, right? So
correct. No, they were
they
happy, thank God.
Yes,
They were
yes.
happy
that's
that
good. That's
yeah,
good. Professionals, I'm assuming you did your background checks on them to know that
yeah,
working
Yes.
people and all that.
Actually,
yeah.
we use Inago.
We're using Nade, the same
Oh
platform
yeah?
we use for
Oh,
yeah
Yeah.
that's
for the slow
interesting.
flip. We're using Nago as well. We do background check for slow flip as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Actually,
Mhm.
the only thing with slow flip we don't do income verification. Of course, in New York, income verification is a
Mm,
must. We cannot do
yeah,
income
yeah.
verification.
But you can run. So Inago did background checks, criminal
Yeah,
Yes.
background checks. Do you check for evictions, past
yeah,
evictions?
in the county too. Yeah,
Okay.
Hmm.
yeah. I think actually it's the only thing we really check is evictions. They have eviction records. We just don't. Yeah, well, even for slow flip, for us will be a no.
Mm. It's
Yeah.
it's it's interesting with background checks. I think unless I'm telling you from my background as a business
Uh-huh.
owner because I own a music academy, so I run background checks on teachers who apply.
Okay.
It's very hard to know everything. What's going to happen is
Mhm.
people move from state to state, county to
Hmm.
county. So usually the only accurate information is county level because you actually have a database with actual cases.
Right.
When you do nationwide, there is state laws, county laws. So unless there is a very established national database that claims that they can be accurate, most likely it's not going to be. So there's really no
Mm.
100%. You know,
Right.
if you say that, well, I'm really trying to put people in my home with no eviction. Well, there's
Right.
really no way, especially if they've moved. If they lived in one city for 20 years, okay, yeah, you actually
Maybe.
have a good chance that you might have a
Right.
very accurate one. But I'm glad now, just now do see a little bit relaxed look on your face. I did see a little
Yeah.
thing last week, so I was like, so I'm glad
Yeah.
that worked out. Cool. How's everybody else doing? Hey, Jason. And what's new?
Hey, Amir, how's it going?
Good,
Good.
good. Try another round of Facebook, or are you gonna? So let me give you an advice on that. And I'm saying what happened to you can happen to anyone. So by the way, you guys
Yes.
remember what happened to him, right? He did a Facebook live stream. He had planned it. He had invited people. Good news is that he didn't invite thousands of people, right? It was just few people and friends. And then he was on. Correct me if I'm wrong. He was actually started the launch. He started streaming and on his side, everything looked okay till he realized that the browser he was using required an update. And while he was doing that, the people who were trying to log in did not see anything. So it's a technological issue, right? One thing I've done, I'm going to give you an example what I'm going to do today. There's no guarantee that it'll work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and play a YouTube video, right? Now it sounds easy. The problem is when you do Zoom and you use anything that requires audio from your computer, it's not so simple. You have to go through one or two steps. I knew the steps, but then what I did was about 10 minutes before this class, I actually created a new meeting. I shared that video from another device. I ensured that on the other device I can hear the audio. In other words, even though you think you're smart, the thing how technology works is always test and rehearse. Now, I'm not saying that's guaranteed, but it's at least you did your work, right? Without doing the work, you show up and then things don't happen, well, it's on you. Does that make sense? Hey,
Yeah,
Mike.
and then the interim, I'll be. My wife has like jumped in and says, "I will be your tech person to make sure
Yeah,
that
yeah,
there's
absolutely, absolutely.
broadcasting."
Ask her to help you out because you need once you get it down, then you can duplicate it. But the first
Mhm.
time you got to be really careful.
Mhm.
Cool. Mike, how are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for asking.
So I added a video today. I think it's gold. This is the PML I put it up about like less than an hour ago, so just check it whenever you can. So what it was somebody in our Freedom Accelerator community had reached out to me several times. He needed help. He couldn't get hold of Scott and his PML. Now this PML is different. That's why I'd like to share it with you. Most of your PMLs that you'll get, they're going to be, I call them lambs, which means they'll be quiet. You'll probably have more education than they do in terms of real estate, and you'll just present and they'll just listen. They'll have few questions, but then you have these sophisticated PMLs who are not lambs. They're like either wolves or something similar to that, right? So they're listening very carefully, but if they ask you one pointed question and you don't have any answer, you're done. So sophisticated PMLs are a little bit more challenging. So that's why I shared these. In my opinion, this guy is a sophisticated potential PML, and I believe he decided to actually go with it. So it's about 30 minutes. I edited just the beginning to it, but basically, I answered his question. I didn't make any presentation. So this is without any presentation. He had already spoken to the contact person, Seth, about it, and then he had questions. And then Seth couldn't answer his questions. That's when he asked me. And so when he came on, so if you notice the way answered his questions is I was just simply answering his questions. I wasn't trying to make a pitch or anything like that, right? So that's going to be very helpful. So please go through that.
Yeah, I watched that. Very good. That was a very good one. I just watched it
Yeah.
like 5 minutes
Cool.
ago. Finished.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. And Joey and I will do a little. Now, Joey did this amazing thing. I hope you guys comment on it as well. He shared his first pitch to his sister with whatever else is going on. I appreciate him being so transparent and honest and sharing, because that's what this community is. You know, nobody's judging you by saying, "Oh, you know, it was you should have done this." You know, we're all learning, and that's how we're going to improve. So, Joey, do I actually have your permission as we go along further to use that video? That's what I'm going to do. Share it, go to certain sections, and give you my inputs.
I would love that. Thank you, Amir.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Joey, about that or anything else from last week's training, or anybody else has any questions? Just kind of raise your hand, let me know so we can address those. Okay, Jason has one. Joey, do you have any questions on last week?
Yeah, I can go after Jason.
Okay, go ahead, Jason.
Okay, mine's probably really simple. I was going through the property evaluation report that you're doing, and I noticed I had PropWire in there, so I went to PropWire. Are you using the paid version of PropWire or the free version of
I'm
PropWire for
using
your
free
evaluation?
version.
The which one?
Free version.
The free version? Okay. So,
What?
yeah,
Why did you think I was using paid version though?
not sure. Just when I was going through trying to figure out PropWire and how they can do the evaluation report, that I wanted to ask that question
Let
before
me
I.
tell you, recently I've seen PropWire. Remember, it's a free service. Even with the paid service, it's they just put it out there. I don't think they do any updates or anything kind of, it's just there, right? So I've noticed sometimes I put in the data and everything is zero. Like when you run comps, everything is zero. So it shows zero square footage, zero. What are you comparing it with? There's no, you can't do a comp. So when that happens, then I actually have to do a manual thing, and I will do a video for that. Have you guys ever done a manual comp? Literally going in Zillow, finding a soul and putting it on map. It takes a little more time, but it's more convincing than anything else
And do that for
because
wholesaling.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So I've actually done those as well. But PropWire, when it does work, it's very efficient. The formatting is pretty good. You can download a PDF, and then it's easy to put back in wherever you need to put it. You do guys know the difference between disclosure state and a non-disclosure state, right?
I don't.
Oh, okay. So disclosure state is where the sales of your real estate transaction is openly available to the public,
Mm.
right? So you go to the county level or literally Google it. It'll actually tell you real accurate price at which the home was sold, selling price. States like state of Texas is a non-disclosure state, which means the information is not readily available. So if you Google it or you go to the free sources, they will show you what we call an estimate. So they either use automatic valuation models to estimate what the value is, but it's not going to be 100% accurate. The only way to do that is MLS. Like a broker will pull up the
Right.
record and internally they don't share that information outside. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because I know St. Louis, Missouri is a disclosure state, which means you can find the sales comps very easily. I'm not sure about Illinois. I know Toledo is a disclosure state. So you just look at the, and then you'll know. So that way, when you do run PropWire, by the way, Jason, to answer your question, if you run PropWire and if you're in non-disclosure or disclosure state, the type of information you get is based on that.
Mm.
So that's why in Toledo you'll get everything is there. Like you'll have square footage, you'll have sales per square footage and everything. Whereas in some states you might not have. So that's the main difference, and that's how you decide.
Okay.
So did I answer? What was the question? I forgot.
Yeah, it was about the prop R, but that's I was just trying to see if there's an easier way because I'm doing the Zillow way of comping properties that I learned for wholesaling. So that's
Yeah,
the
no,
yeah, but if there's an easier report that just spits it out, I'm
that's
all
what
for
it does.
easy.
Yeah, that's what I use, and the graph is really nice. Uh, and I don't tweak it too much. I do actually choose the actual properties. So when you go to the comp tab in PropWire, everybody's use PropWire, right?
Yes.
Okay. When you log in, it's usually in the property section play page, but then if you move over the tab to the comp, it is actually not selecting any. It's just averaging the values. It's not giving you the accurate value. If you scroll down, that's where all the properties are, right? So you manually have to click, and if you click more than 10, this is something I learned, then you cannot get a PDF download.
Mm.
If you click 10 or less, it will actually let you export the report, which I import directly into my property report as a PDF. Do you get it? So that's why it doesn't tell you if you do more than 10 and you try to click that PDF, download is grayed out. So you can't download it. So what I do is, so now let's say it's 3 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,200 square feet, right? So the comps below that disregard the two ones, disregards the 1 bedroom. So I look for three ones and close to the square footage. That's what I'm starting with. And the ones on the top are the ones that are closest to subject property. As you go down, they're further away from the subject property, right? It starts with, I believe, 0.25 miles and then it goes to zero point 0.5 miles. So by default, it's 0.25 miles, if I'm not wrong. But what I'm just trying to tell you is choose the properties. Those are the right comps. I mean, that's the whole purpose of comp, right? So if you choose two ones or one, then, compared to a three one. Now, having said that, Mike is very experienced. Let me ask Mike this. This is going to help everyone. Mike, let's say, and it does happen, right? Once in a while, we come across a property. Let's say it's a 3-1, but apparently in the entire subdivision, most of the homes are 2-1. What do you do?
Well, first I look at the square footage because if it's like 1,200 square feet, it could have been a 3 bedroom that they made into a 2 bedroom. But if it's a smaller square footage, it's probably definitely a 2 bedroom. But yeah, I don't really think you can compare the 2 bedroom to a 3 bedroom. But I mean, you could do some math and take off.
Yes, so that's an
No,
interesting, very I think your approach is very right. Square footage is a very big driving force. The problem is this. When you start, you're right. Actually, that could be the key because in a subdivision, ideally in a subdivision, well, we know for a fact historically that's why they're called subdivision. They're built at the same time, and in most cases their layout is about same. So if there were a whole bunch of homes that were built and they're in this one specific subdivision, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, about 1,200 square feet or something, most of the homes were that. So at some point, maybe somebody made that 2 bedroom, 1 bath to a 3 bedroom. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you look at the entire subdivision, then you don't have any 3 bedroom, 1 bath at all. You have two choices. You start making comparison with the 2 bedroom, 1 bath and make some adjustments, or you can go out of the subdivision, which means increase the size of the radius at which you're searching for comps. Does that make sense? But there's really no, like, ideally you would want it to compare with 3 bedrooms, with 3 bedrooms, square footage as close as 20% up and down. That's what I would do.
I mean, Mike, are you using PropWire for comps or are you using another?
we'll just quickly grab numbers off of Zillow, Realtor. I think homes.com. I don't know if you guys are using that. That's pretty good.
Mhm.
Gives you the listing agent's information where Zillow will just give you a Zillow agent. But we're just using all the public
Yeah,
websites to try
I'm
to come
like,
up
yeah,
with
I'll
that.
grab three of them. I'll go to Zillow, Homes.com, and Redfin, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. The other thing is, remember, when you're going to be working with your private money lenders, they could be either, sophisticated, non-sophisticated. The ones who are sophisticated, they know about comps. They understand what comps mean. So if you start throwing numbers at them, oh, I just averaged them out, that's not a good sign. That's why I do the property report. It is more work, but when I do it and they look at my report, they know that I've done the work. I actually have pictures, I have the sale date and the specs of the property, right? So beyond that, I mean, they can verify that obviously, but you've done the work for them. Jason, you had another question or? Oh, okay. Uh,
no, I used my hands in
in the real
it
world.
raised hand.
Hi, Teresa. How are you? Okay, everything good? All right, perfect. All right, so what I was thinking of doing today was Joey had made his first presentation. I don't think it was your first though, right? Was it your very first using the pitch deck maybe?
It was my first actual pitch, but I did practice with my wife. So I did a pitch, and she actually gave me some good feedback because she has good assessment of presentations, I suppose. But I recorded that one as well, but I hid my self view. So when I looked at the
Hmm.
recording, I couldn't see myself, and I wanted to get my body language and
Yeah.
like my eye contact. So I thought this was a better representation. And it was, I had another practice round with my wife. So this was a slightly more polished version.
Okay. So those of you who have seen or even not seen, what I'm gonna do is, I hope it works now. I'm gonna share the video and play it for you. And while it's playing, I want to make sure that you can hear it. So give me just one moment. Yeah, it's off. So give me a thumbs
Okay,
up if you can hear it.
cool. Actually, it might work out well that way because what I was trying to determine since we last spoke was can we use your retirement account to fund a real estate transaction?
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear
First,
it.
first thing, I know this is your sister. Don't take me. Don't think that I'm trying. I'm just trying to make sure you understand. Never make any presentation, even if it's your family. Now I know this. You were doing it also for a practice session and all that. Never make a presentation if you know the person is going to be distracted or be doing something else. What really is happening is, they're doing this. In this case, she's doing it for both. I know she's doing it because she wants to do it. Plus, she's doing it because, your family, right? But having distracted is not going to help either one of you because it's also distracting for you because you're looking at her screen, right? And then you're also trying to follow with what you're trying to do. So that is just a rule. This is what I do honestly. Very strong. When you are going to talk to a private money lender, and within the first 5 minutes, if you feel the person is distracted, don't put yourself in a position. I call it putting yourself in a weak position. Let me give you an example. I'm actually going to do a whole module on this, and I use this word quite often. It's called framing, right? So watch this. Let's assume, let me give you an example. Let's say you're a salesperson of physically selling something and you go and meet a prospect physically in their office, right? So let's say your appointment was at 1 p.m. You showed up a few minutes early, you're sitting and waiting, right? And the person who was supposed to meet you is running late, and so they open the door 5 minutes late, and the first thing they say to you is, hey, I'm sorry, it's been a crazy day, I just got 10 minutes, and you were supposed to meet for 30 minutes. Well, what do most people do? Most people say, oh no, don't worry about it, thank you for taking the time, and I will make sure that we get everything done. Well, guess what? The person who let you in the office, they're in control. They're controlling the frame. All right. So the ideal situation would have been for you to control the frame and you to be in a position. It's hard, but that's what you want to do. So how do you do that? Let's say, again, I'm going back to our situation where you're going to make the presentation via Zoom to a potential private money lender. If they show up late, by the way, this is what I do. I do it no matter who it is. I am always on time. I send reminders, and I'll show you guys how to set up reminders on your Calendly. Do you guys know how to do that within Calendly? You can set up multiple reminders, including text. I believe it's in the free version. If I'm not 100% sure, I have a pro version, but I know you can set up reminders. So they get reminders, and if they don't show up, I wait for 5 minutes. If they don't show up, I just log off. I'm not like, some kind of an idiot waiting for that. I'm not doing that. And if they follow up with me, unless they have a good reason, maybe I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll say, we'll see if we can catch up later. I just control the frame. I am the expert. They want my expertise. It's not the other way around. So if somebody shows up and they say, look, I'm running late and I have 10 minutes. So I say, you know what? I think it'll be better if we reschedule because what I have present to you, it just won't be justice to you, to try to do something that takes longer. So why don't we reschedule? Do you see what I'm saying? So two things. Number one, don't do your presentation if you get a indication that somebody is distracted or they're stressed or they're in a bad mood. That's also not good sign. So you may want to just read visually and see how the things are going and say, you know what, looks like maybe something else is going on. You know what, don't worry. We'll just reschedule it. Okay? So that was one thing I noticed. I'm going to play it again.
Like this.
Uh-huh.
And it
Yeah.
does seem possible. It might take some work, but I've done it for my own account. So I think I can help you to do that if that's something that you're interested in. And that way you don't have to take funds out of your savings for this, or not as much, rather. So
Right.
if you used all of your retirement account, for example, then you could
Right.
put up 13,000 in cash rather than put 30,000.
Right.
And there's a few benefits to that. One,
Yeah.
you won't have to pay as much taxes up front. If you use your own money, you have to pay
Oh,
taxes on the interest that you earn.
So my question on this part, Joey, is did she ask you a question so you were going through this before your presentation, or why were you actually going in that at this point?
Yeah, I was trying to summarize our previous conversation and some questions that she had that I was following up with her on. So at the end, she was saying, do I invest with this with cash only, or is it? And I mentioned the retirement account, or she said, is there a way for us to
Okay.
use the retirement accounts I
So
have?
it was from a previous conference. Got it. I thought maybe
Exactly.
you started on this, so that clarifies it. No worries.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Earn as a lender, which
okay.
is, you're going to have to pay taxes no matter what they get you, pretty much no matter what you do. But there's certain things that are beneficial to do it out of a retirement account.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like to, if this is something you want to commit to, basically the next step would be us figuring that out together.
Okay.
I would walk you through every step of the way because I've done it myself, but it would
Yep.
be like take that rollover IRA, that Roth IRA, and that retirement 401k and try to consolidate it into
Yeah.
a custodian that allows you to invest in real estate.
Yeah, that sounds great, Joe.
Cool. All right, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. You might not, because I believe you're on your phone, you might not be able to see it super well, but hopefully I will just explain it so well that
Right.
you don't even need.
So that is actually a good point. If you are going to be meeting with a private money lender, you do want to ask them, hey, please make sure you're on a desktop because especially when you're going to show that snowball effect or anything, any spreadsheet you're gonna, they're not gonna be able to see it on their cell phone.
To look at it. Um, but I'll try to highlight things that you want to pay particular attention to.
Okay. You could say like screenshot this or something.
Yeah, and luckily you have the recording, so you can look at this anytime
Okay.
when you feel like it's you know, if you have any questions or want to review something,
Okay.
then that would be
Oh, sorry, Bob. Just making sure
possible.
Yoni's clean. All done. All done.
All right, hold on, I'm gonna drag this down here. Let me just double check to make sure you're seeing this.
All clean.
Okay, so
You're
let me.
clean.
Used for general guidance and informational purposes only.
Well done. That's
Others within the family. In addition to that, I provide education and guidance on building wealth through income producing properties, which is the topic of our conversation today. I specialize in property management, retirement-based investment strategies, and the integration of technology in real estate operations. Basically, what that means is for our short-term and long-term rentals, I have used technology to try to take as much work off of my plate as possible so I can focus on the actual investing aspect. So automating people going to clean, automating handymen to go when there's an issue, payments to the owners, and things like that. In addition, for the past 7 years, I've been an engineer and I work for a software company specializing in automation and controls for saving energy and therefore money for multifamily buildings.
So I have a suggestion for you here. Under engineer, what I would add is all the skill set that you have as an engineer that can help you managing your portfolio, managing project, for example, project management. You can add that. So think about that, and I would just add those as bullet points. You don't actually have to go into detail. So you can just say software engineer, working as a sales engineer at a software company. That's good enough. But then highlight your additional expertise that you can use in your real estate business.
As a summary, I'm in real estate in everything that I do as far as my work. I have other hobbies, of course, but real estate is my primary focus. So the left side is more text to go into more detail about what we do with that side of the business, the rental portfolio. Oh, I'd like to highlight, Jess gave me some feedback. Our rental portfolio is worth over $1 million, and the income that we receive from
Okay, now this is one of the most important part of your presentation, and it's actually not in your slide. So remember in my slide, I have, just like you are in multifamily, you know that, so you would write $1 million. So you would write $1 AUM, assets under management. That's the terminology that's used. So that's what I would use, and you could say it that way. So if somebody ever asks how many properties you have, how this and that, I don't go into details. I talk about portfolio and overall valuation. So that would be something that you can add here.
it is, I don't know the exact number, but it's in the realm of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we bring in $300,000 or so for the owners and for ourselves as the property managers. And that's split. We get like 15.
I have a fantastic suggestion for you. So you do need to mention how many properties you manage. That's amazing, right? But see, that's a great segue into what you're doing in slow flips, right? Without bashing yourself, you say that, having this incredible experience with having such a great portfolio, I realize that a bulk of our time is being spent in managing, repairs, and now we found a way where not only we can do this for our future, for wealth building, but we can also help our private money lenders. And that's what I'm doing with Richie Legacy Homes LLC. Does that make sense? Because when I look at
Absolutely.
this, right, because you're showing you have a real estate portfolio, you didn't even mention the name of the company, and then you have another company. What it's showing is you just have four companies with four different real estate, so you got to connect it why you're doing this. So people respond to stories. Yes, they want some facts and all that, but when you connect everything like a story, that's what they clicks. The problem is reading all of this, you're reading it, they're trying to catch up with it. But if you do it in a story, like, they're just catching on with what you're saying. Oh yeah, so he has a portfolio. Oh yeah, he's now experienced, and then now it makes sense why he's talking about his current thing, because that's the conclusion that he reached. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. This is
Yeah.
perfect. I'm loving this. Percent of that or something along those lines. So it's a pretty successful business, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
Um,
nice.
and now what I'm doing is, in addition to that, Jess is taking on a lot of the rental portfolio. And what I'm doing now is I'm investing in the Midwest, and that's where you might come in as a private money lender. So what we've done so far, we started this LLC last year, Richie Legacy Homes, and we bought two properties in Missouri and Illinois. That was what we talked about a little bit last meeting, was the property in Illinois. We highlighted that. But essentially, the plan is to make this, it's a great, livable 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. So there's nothing wrong with it as far as someone can move in, someone has moved into this house. And really the only problem with it is that there was some issue with the ceiling in the kitchen, and the ceiling caved in. The floor is in good condition, and the roof there's no problem with. It's just the drywall fell through. There might have been a leak in the past, but that has since been resolved. But the kitchen just needs to be fixed with that in mind, and probably some updates and a lot of cosmetic things that the homeowner may want to do. But it was sold as is to the tenant buyer.
So I think this is the strong point of your presentation. And always remember, it will always be the strongest point. Why? Because you actually have a real property with real address, with real numbers, and you want to emphasize that several times. So sometimes when my PML is prospect is on the call with me, I tell them, hey, so this is the address. You can actually Google this. So do you know what's going to happen if they Google this? Actually, it may or may not happen. Sometimes in Zillow, if you bought it from the MLS, Zillow record keeps the sold price. So they can actually see it that yes, it was sold for $30,000. You see what I'm saying? So it's actually good in that sense. So yeah, just remember that there will be certain part of your presentation. So when I talk, do you notice that I don't talk at the same pace? I do that purposely, you know that, right? So all people who do presentations, they get good at that. If you are constantly talking at the same pace over and over and it does get boring. Doesn't matter if you talk fast or if you talk slow. So same thing with your presentation. Whichever part of your presentation is the highlight, your tone, your pace has to do the same thing. So when you know that this is the highlight, slow down and talk about it. And you'll notice that your prospect will also pay attention more to that part. Do you see? And visually also, if you think about it, he has more pictures. People respond to visuals, right?
The end buyer. It's a family moving from Wyoming. And like I said, I bought it for $35,500, and then I sold it to them about 2 weeks later, a sales price of $125,000 after repair value, roughly. And then the terms were $4,000 down and $1,250 a month amortized over 30 years. So that's the downside, I suppose. So going
So they get the deed.
Okay, so
does happen. People, they want to move away and they can't pay or whatever happens, but they either leave and give the property back to us, or we have to evict them, and having the deed in our name makes that process smoother for everybody. For them, it's unfortunate, but yeah, that's the downside, I suppose.
Okay, so this is something you said. I know you said it in the right context, but it does come across very, very, very negative. All right. So you want to avoid certain words like what you just said here, right here.
They want to move away and they can't pay or whatever happens, but they either leave and give the property back to us, or we have to evict them, and having the deed in our name makes that process smoother for everybody. For them, it's unfortunate, but
So you don't want to say that. So for them, it's unfortunate. And the last part, especially this one.
Yeah, that's the downside, I suppose.
So you don't want to say that, right? What you want to say, there's nothing wrong with it. You want to be transparent. But the way I would say it, I would turn around and say it from the perspective of you and from the private money lender. So what you might want to do is that, just like in any situation, if you had a rental, you have to evict people because of their situation, somebody lost their job. Obviously, it's unfortunate. That's obvious. But if you bring it in your conversation, your focus is not now on the situation, the unfortunate situation or whatever. You want to turn it around and say, well, when that happens, then you go about what is the good side from your perspective as an operator. The good side is that you can now go and sell this property again. So you get a small down payment and you put another tenant buyer in there. So that's what is from your point of view. And what the private money lender really wants to hear is this. He doesn't want to hear unfortunate and all that. What he wants or she wants to hear is there's going to be no stoppage of our payment to you. So regardless of whether that person is a week behind, 2 weeks behind, or we are evicting them, our payment remains the same. And you can connect that, by the way. See, that is the magic of this. You can connect that with the event of the eviction. Because of the eviction, when you put somebody new in there, you take a down payment. So now you have extra spread in there. So you can mention that and go and just casually that, by the way, when we, place a new tenant in there, we get a down payment. That's an additional buffer for us, and that helps us to ensure that we don't miss our payment to our private money lender. Do you see that you connected everything? But you kind of flipped it around instead of talking about the unfortunate thing. That's what and it's okay because it is your first couple of presentation. You're now you know that when you hear yourself, it does sound like that, right? So you want to avoid that.
Goes. So going.
So they get the deed. Will they get the deed after they pay for 30 years?
That's right. They could pay
Okay.
off anytime. If
Right,
they fix
right.
up the house and it becomes of a value where they can refinance it with a bank, they can get conventional financing. Maybe they'll get a better interest rate from the bank. It's very possible because our interest rates are not terribly low, I would say. So if they do that,
Okay.
then they would pay off their loan to us, and then they would get the deed in that case, I think, or maybe the bank would.
Okay.
Okay, so here's another thing. Again, it's a small thing. You're smiling. You understand what I'm saying. When you say I think and then you pause, it's a doubt for someone. So you never want to say that. So the reason is, and I know what happened. You started a conversation and it got to a place where you didn't want to go. So that's actually another sign. Don't go into details that are not necessary. So in this case, she did ask that. The answer you actually give it in the first second, which was yes. Once it's paid off, once they pay off the 30-year, the deed transfers over. That's it. You don't need to go into details. When you say something like that, I think that is a definite sign that you're not sure, right? And so you don't want to go there. And if you really don't know, if a question is asked, that's a legitimate way. I've done that. Somebody asks me something that I don't know, I'd be honest and I say, I don't know the answer to that question, but I can, double check on that and I'll get back to you. But on your presentation, anything that's in your present, you never want to say I think or I'm pretty sure, or because it's your presentation. Why would you know what I'm saying? You cannot doubt what's in your present. That's why I told you guys you can use my presentation as is, or you can take out stuff if you cannot explain it well enough. I can. That's why I put it in there, right? But that's cool.
But essentially, it's out of our hands at that point. Or if they sold the property outright, let me go back to that slide. Yeah, if they sell the house, then the deed would not be in our name anymore. Of course, we would give the deed over to the.
Oh, sorry.
As
Jumped it
it
here.
depends on the state. It's called different things, but the important thing is that the deed stays with Ritchie Legacy Properties, which is me, and I only transfer it over.
Wait to ask questions.
Yeah, you can wait to ask questions, but if you have one
Okay.
right now, we can take it.
What's the interest?
So my suggestion is that this is very important. This is for the flow of your presentation, because even if you get to know your presentation really well, you will have a flow and a rhythm to it. It's a natural process, right? And if they ask a question, in most cases they might ask a question that is simple, straightforward, but their question may require too much explanation, and by the time you come back, you've lost your momentum. So what I like to do is, if it's a very short answer right there, I can give it in a word or two, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll just say, let's hold on to that thought. Let's, wait till the end and I'll answer all your questions. And there's another benefit to that. A lot of your questions should be answered in the frequently asked questions. So that's why I want to have them go through all of that with me. By the time they get to the end, they say, "Oh, pretty much you answered all the questions, right?" They might have something beyond that. So that's what I would do. That's all the feedback I have. Somebody else has some feedback or comment or suggestion? Go ahead.
I just have a quick comment. Thank you so much, Amir, for helping dissect this. I think it's extremely valuable. I'm looking forward to the subsequent repetitions of this. So yeah, thanks so much for taking the time, and thanks everyone for listening and being the audience for this. I think even if I didn't present this to everyone to look at, I think recording all of my calls is going to be so valuable for me, even if I look at them alone with no one else looking at them. I think it just will accelerate the learning. So really
So
excited.
excellent. Thank you so much for actually doing this. And I can guarantee you that just the fact that you actually did this exercise puts you ahead, right? That's how we all get better, right? I mean, I got better by doing it over and over again, and I know my presentations now, so obviously I sound better. The thing about this is when you do repeat your presentations, do see if you can do that. Actually, you can do it yourself. Let's say by yourself. Start the present. You don't have to do the whole thing. Just do a section of it and see if you can do the thing that mentioned, where you change your tone, and it's actually quite fun because you can see you'll enjoy yourself because you're literally controlling the flow and then you're literally creating the tension and then you're letting it go. And it's very exciting when actually when you see your private money lender and they're actually reacting to what you're doing, it becomes really fun. So thank you for sharing, Joey. All right.
Of course, of course. And I wanted to mention one thing. I really like the framing, what you mentioned in the beginning, the time framing, and like power framing and all that. The book that's from is so good as well.
Yep.
Pitch
Yep.
Anything. If anyone hasn't read it, it is so captivating. He's really great. He pitches for venture capital primarily,
Absolutely.
but Oren Clough he's a master of it.
He's talking
So
about this
it's yeah,
book. I don't know
yeah,
if
it's
you can
super.
see it. Sorry. Hold on.
Oh yeah, the background's making it's a bit
Yeah,
of a
it's not gonna.
challenge.
It's called
Yeah.
Pitch Anything.
Yeah, that's lots of
Uh,
fun. No, I took a bunch of notes on that, Amir, so I'll implement that into the presentation. So hopefully in a week or so, even if I'm not pitching to anyone, I'll have a revised
Perfect.
version.
Perfect.
So
Does anybody have any conversation they're doing this week to anybody potentially, or have they thought about DJ? I think you're on the call also, right? I saw DJ before. Hey, he's there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, man, are you working?
I am. I'm on break, but I'm sitting here. I'm just listening. I
Okay,
think. Uh, I think Joy did great. Um, I was actually just really paying attention to it. I think that's fantastic.
perfect, perfect. Did Joey and you get together to talk about the tribe strategy yet, or
Me and Joy, we talked once. We do need to link up again and kind
okay?
of take like another session, but we spoke once. So, uh,
So here's my suggestion for you. Let's say you have a couple of chats, and let's say you have a aha moment, right? Share
uh
it with us. We'll love to hear what you guys came up with, strategy or idea or something like that. Share it with us. And that's where that collaboration tab is, the folder, this workshop that we are doing, that I'm doing. Then at some point, you can also collaborate between yourself. That's the ultimate goal. But that cannot happen unless you start communicating with each other and running ideas by each other.
okay,
I can tell you there is also something which is very hard to do, but that is possible. I know most of you are on different states and cities, but if you were open to it, there's future possibility is once you have enough people in your database is to actually do a physical event. You can actually invite. It's very strong. It's of course more expensive. It's hard work, but the results can be dramatic because you are actually face to face with people. I mean, people are also spending time and effort to get to a physical event, so that's why that's going to be great. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Anybody else has any questions, comments, suggestions?
I do have a question, but I don't want to hog the entire time.
No, no, go ahead.
Okay, so this was a bit of a I asked ChatGPT and did try to get some research done that way, but I'm anticipating inviting my relatives and friends, my tribe essentially, to the workshop that you're hosting, or not the workshop, the what do you call it, the presentation. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm anticipating if I have some initial conversations with them, there's going to be people with all types of retirement accounts. So I asked ChatGPT like what are the and very relevant to the conversation we had on Tuesday. One that I was thinking of is like a pension. I don't know. I wasn't confident if someone says, "Hey, I have a pension. Can I do something with that related to real estate?" That I researched and I couldn't find anything related to that. There's a bunch of
Okay.
retirement accounts that you can do, but pension was one, depending. I suppose I should ask for more details about what they have.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very good question. I never actually thought of that, but that's yeah, relevant. Let me also research this as well. Um, because at the end, from the pension, I know for sure, right? We all know that from the pension they cannot invest directly. We know for that for sure. The issue is can they, because pension is not like it's in my opinion, it's an account that stays with you till you're dead. Unlike, right, it's same as IRA and all that, you can keep that open, but the purpose of a pension account is that it'll stay with you, right? So in other words, you cannot exit from it, you can borrow from it. So that's what my feel is, that most likely, just like a 401k, you could probably borrow from it, but you cannot invest from it directly into a um, any kind of and also correct me if I'm wrong, a pension is, I don't think they are tax sheltered account. We are not talking about tax shelter here. We are talking about some kind of a fund that just makes payments to you, right? Based on whatever was agreed upon. So yeah, I don't really know anything about it, but you're right. My first thing would be to find out generally it's very hard, I mean, if somebody is in a federal government, their pension plan is going to be very different. Somebody who is a retired airline pilot is going to be very different. So it's kind of hard. I don't really know the answer, but it's a good point. You're right. If somebody says that, we should have some answer. So I'm going to research that also.
Cool. Thanks, Amir. Yeah, I figured, I mean, if you don't know, of course, the best answer is saying, hey, I'm not entirely sure, but I know someone who does know.
Yeah.
Let me ask them. And then the other question that my sister actually asked me, because she's planning to roll it over potentially and then use her cash, that will be taxed annually. And from the research that I saw, it would be based on the interest only at her tax bracket, because she's not a business as a private money lender. That's not her
Ho-
business at all.
Hold on. What do you mean she's going to do a rollover from where?
Oh yeah, from her, she has like a 401k from a previous employer, so she's going to
Okay.
roll it over, but she doesn't have sufficient funds
Okay.
to fund a whole deal. So she's going to
Okay.
bring her own cash to make up the difference. And then she was asking me about how she's going to be taxed, what she should expect. And I said, from what I saw, it'd be annually. I would send her a
There'll be no tax.
1099.
You know
Okay.
why there'll be no tax? Because think about it. The
Mm,
rollover is tax sheltered
right.
and her
Roll.
cash is already taxed. I mean,
Ah.
right?
Even on her interest that she's earning on
Yeah, but once
the
she
cash.
puts she does a
Mm.
contribution to our SDIRA, then it's part of the SDIRA.
Oh, so I see.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I actually had thought that that's a good point. I didn't think of her making her cash contribution to the STR IRA. I was
Yeah.
thinking her cash would be like a second position
Yeah. No,
lien,
no,
and
no,
she would get
no.
paid out
You
like
can
that.
put it, but take benefit of a SDI.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
reason why people do it, right? So as
yeah.
soon as she puts it in the SDIRA, now it's, as of
Mm,
that time, it's tax sheltered.
got it,
Now
got
you're
it.
lending from your SDIRA, and then of
Mm,
course everything that goes back in is
right.
tax sheltered. So there'll be no
Yeah, yeah.
tax. So she tell
Brilliant.
her the good news.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. That's even better than I think what I was thinking. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, but an STRA, just to be clear, similar to a 401k, once you start to take distributions, you do get taxed at your tax bracket.
Yes,
Not
and
like a Roth.
that
Roth
that is
is
that is
different.
quite complex in the sense because
Mm,
what age you're gonna take it,
mhm.
what bracket you're going to be in, and
Right,
nobody can
exactly.
really answer that question quite, because you
Yeah,
don't know when you're going to be taking distribution and what your income
mhm.
would be at that time. You could be taking
Exactly.
social security, you could be
Right.
having other investment income coming into you, so it's a very complex question
Hmm.
on that, but it's based on those two three things. What age
Right.
are you going to take your distribution, what
Mm,
income bracket you're going to be in, yeah, the income, those two should be the main thing.
cool. Cool. And that's what I told my sister roughly. I said, I don't know what you're going to be doing in 35 years when you're 65, so
Yeah.
you have some time to figure that
But
out.
see, how I explain to people is this: look, I mean, it's like saying that, oh, I won't do anything because I'm not sure what I'm going to be in. Well, you're preparing yourself, and meanwhile you're tax sheltered. So meanwhile you're not paying tax, and yes, nobody really knows the future, but you're still in a better situation because you're preparing for something early. So that's how I look at it. No, I think this is great. And she mentioned in the recording, which I didn't play here, but she had more than one 401k. Is that correct?
Yeah, she did. She had two employers since. I mean, she has the one employer that she has now, but she has two in the past. So
Okay.
one had a 401k, and then she mentioned the other one is rollover IRA. I'm not sure if she's using the correct terminology there. And then she started her own independent Roth IRA as well. So that could
Oh
be
wow,
converted to
great.
a self-directed
Yeah.
Roth IRA, but yeah, I'm
If
not how
if
that'd be
she's
executed.
doing a self-directed IRA, I would, in my opinion, she should only do one. That will
Yeah.
avoid what, because remember, if she is thinking that she has to do SDIRA because she wants to work with you, tell her no.
Mm,
You can do many things with that SDIRA.
mm,
One of the things would be private lending. So
mm,
let's say she wants to invest in stocks. Tell her you
mm,
can do that. If she wants to invest in a business, she can do that. I mean, you can do. That's why SDIR is incredible. You can do
mm,
everything that a regular retirement account can do,
mm,
plus more. So
mm.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Amir. That's
Yeah.
helpful.
And by the way, for everyone, I just set up. So I have a solo, self-directed solo 401k because I'm a business owner, and while I have employees, they're all part-time. So I qualify for that. And the best thing is I just got a checkbook control. So now I set up a separate LLC, and I will have the control of just writing over funds to whatever I would like to invest in. And so that's, yeah, I mean, there's many benefits of this. Okay. Anybody has any questions? Curious about something? Okay, so I know I've asked you guys before through feedback. It's really important because starting July, once we are finished with our live training, we will go to once a week coaching calls with me. So I'll be there. And by the way, this video that I added today, where I'm helping somebody doing the pitch to a private money lender. It's not really a pitch, it's more answering questions. If you come across a situation like that, because you're my students, I'm willing to do that for you. I don't do this, I only do this if I have time. So if somebody from the outside reach out, many people reach out to me all the time. In most cases, I don't do that for them because number one, I don't want to put myself in a situation. I don't know them, right? What if they do something and then suddenly they're saying, well, you were the one who were on the calls. That's why I don't know if you saw this. I have a full disclaimer before I even start talking to them. But for you guys, I can do this. If you come across someone and you're not comfortable that, you can talk to them, bring me on. I'll be happy to chat with them, right? So here's what I was saying. When you do your feedback, please be honest. Tell me if there is something that you would like to see that is not there. Because what I want to do is starting in July, I'm going to open it up for new students. And when they come in, I just, I want to have, even something that I can improve on. So if you feel that there are things that are missing or that I did not cover, because there are a lot of things in my mind that, as we go along further, I'll be adding modules and all that. But up to now, whatever I'm teaching, if you feel in the content that I taught, if there was something missing, feel free to write it in the feedback. It does help, and it's going to help me improve the program. Right? Cool. So no more questions. Mikael, looks like you have a question. Are you asking?
No, I was asking Ginevra if she did it or not yet.
Okay, so progress-wise, yeah, let's just talk about it real quick. Everyone, systems. Everybody has their systems in place. Website, maybe basic CRM, Calendly, Zoom, very basic system. So everybody with the thumbs up, pretty much, pretty much. Mike, how are we doing? Okay, good. And Sarissa, you need a little help with that?
Well, actually, I've reached out to Christine
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to work with her. I've been working on my pitch deck. I'm learning more about Canva than actually getting the work done. So, but I have reached out to her. She sent me her price sheet, and it's just a matter of figuring out what I'm going to have her do because I'm in it. I'm going to need some help. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as, putting everything into place, and getting the systems up and going. So
Perfect. I would
feel I'm a
like
little bit behind, but I'm competition with myself. I'm not worried about
good. Good. I love it. I don't know if you
other
know this, guys. There's this theory about I'm reading this book. It's an amazing book, but it's heavy. It's about psychology. So there is this guy. You might not know this. I was born and raised in Pakistan. So in the previous Olympics, there was a athlete from Pakistan who won a gold medal in javelin. And let me tell you his story real quick. This guy is from a village, so he's not very educated. He can't speak English. And they interviewed him after he won the gold medal, and they asked him about competition and all that thing. You know what he said? And this guy's not very educated. And he said, you know what? I always thought that I was in competition with myself. And I was like, amazing. And this guy threw two, not one, two throws that were more than 90 meters. None of the participants, and they were Europeans, none of them threw anything near 90. And this is not the incredible thing. You want to know this is most incredible thing? He trained with one javelin. He could not afford it. The country could not afford to buy him javelins because the Pakistan never won a gold medal in javelin ever. So they don't want to spend money on him. So he had one javelin that he would throw and maybe somebody would bring it back. Could you imagine that? And with that mindset, he had that, no, I'm in competition with myself. Instead of worrying about, oh, all these people, they have all this benefit and how will I compete with them? No, he didn't even think about that. So I thought that was an amazing story. So it's the same thing with us. We just want to know how good what we are doing and how good we can be, knowing our own skill set. So in case Teresa, what you're saying is all you have to do is with Christine, even with the basic package, which is like $500, you don't need something complicated. 3-page website, basic CRM setup. Your Calendly Zoom should be connected, and you should test it because remember, your PML you only get one chance for your PML to try to do this. And if it fails or they get a error message, they're not going to try it again. Your phone number should be working. You should be able to get a phone or text message or something. So test everything several times. Make sure it's working. On the workshop day, even before that, we will probably have a rehearsal. We will have a full rehearsal so you will know exactly what's happening. And especially for the co host, you will know which section to do. So we will have a full rehearsal for that. We will also learn how to talk to your prospect if you're not presenting, but you're participating, which means your prospect is on the call. So you will know that you will text them in the chat, not text them, chat with them live so you can answer their question and keep them focused, right? And by the way, I don't want you to reach out to people right now. You can have a conversation with them, casual conversation that we have a big event coming, but the actual content I'm working on. So you'll have text messages with a link to register. You'll have email template with a link to register for the event. So the event will require them to register, which is good for everyone because they do have to go through the effort of doing the registration. Yeah, beyond that, what it will do is I'm actually working on something quite hard. It's let me just tell you what I'm trying to do. You saw everybody's seen my pitch deck, right? Everybody, my pitch deck. Now, there are 17, 18, or something like that slides in there. Some of the slides are one page with only a graphic. You know that, right? I didn't play that for you, but you can watch that. Joey's sister said something very interesting, and I want you to watch that over and over again. You could see she was completely distracted, right? But there was one slide. She said, wait, that's amazing, or she said something like that, right? It was because the graphic was so simple that even on the phone she not only saw it, she pretty much understood what it was. My point is that when you're presenting, of course you're talking, what's on the screen has to be, and I'm trying to get better at that, on the screen you have to have minimal text. And it's very hard when you're trying to explain a complex concept. So what I'm planning on doing, I don't know if I can do this, is when we do this workshop, every slide will only have a visual. It's very hard. Trust me, it sounds easy, but it's hard, which means every idea I have to come up with a visual. But if I can do that, I can keep their attention towards the end of the presentation. So I'm working on that. All right, guys. Any questions? No more? Cool. So I'll see you all on Tuesday. Take it easy. All right, and post on school if you have any questions. See ya.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. Thank you, Amir. Thank you, everyone. Bye
Bye.
now.
Bye.